Hi everybody, I'm Shifra. I'm the founder of Ayda. We're a research operations platform, so a software business that essentially does everything but the research. So this business came from my time previously running a research agency and looking at all the mad processes that we had, very lots of manual processes, and I thought, hang on, I've built research tools before, I'm sure we can do this better. So I'm here to really delve into a bit around sort of what's happening with the participant experience and the lack of maybe some of the consideration that they've kind of had in the room. I think it builds on, if you were in this room before, the workshop that Paul was giving, where we kind of saw that the stakeholder and the researcher had a very loud voice within the research process, but the participant less so. And so much so that essentially by 2027, if fraud continues at the rate that it is right now, that we'll be looking at over half of the survey completes basically being fraudulent. And that kind of it has two problems to it. It's obviously the rate of increase in fraud, but it's also the lack of real participants and the willingness really of people to give their time to take part in research studies. And as a sort of technology, as someone that's built a technology platform, sort of really what I'm here to say is that I think we can look at solving real human problems with tech. And I think that that's maybe something that has been slightly missing maybe within ResTech. We're doing things because we have advancements in technology which are really exciting, but essentially it has to kind of come from a deep human need and an understanding of addressing that need through technology as opposed to just because we can. So I'm saying that the one significant consideration that we've maybe missed in ResTech is the people, the participants, the people we're expecting to take part in our research studies. Obviously, without them, we have no data. Sure, we have synthetics coming, but essentially, what is that going to learn from? What is that synthetic data going to be built from? It needs to be built from high-quality human data, unless we all really think that we're actually all, robots in ourselves. So, to be clear, I'm not arguing against advancements in technology, but what I am saying is that we really need the voice of the participant within the advancements of technology and research. So who is responsible for bringing that voice of the participant into the party, but into the sort of research design and discussion and into the research process? Who is ultimately responsible for them? Who ensures good ethics and fair payment towards them? And who is monitoring research design to ensure that we have and deliver a positive participant experience and essentially therefore good quality outcomes? And the answer is, in a way, it's everyone, and it's kind of left to each company's own devices and the people that are designing the research or and their thought and how much thought they want to give or are able to give to the participant within the research process. And at the same time, therefore, it's no one's responsibility. And as it's everyone's and no one's, they tend to essentially fall out of the bottom. So what's happened, because we've not had the participant voice really loudly represented in the business or in the industry, we've essentially extracted, we've used research as a method of extraction. And it's not knowingly, we've not kind of been malicious in that, but it's just because their voice has not been loudly represented, we've kind of got as much as we can for as little as we can by the very nature of their voice not being present. So, excuse the analogy, but this is kind of, obviously this extraction method has happened sort of in other sectors before. If you look at commercial fishing, it seems a bit sort of abstract, but if you look at what happened when there was a huge demand, an increase in demand in the fishing industry, and as that went into, to be commercial, to meet the demand, they started doing what's called bottom trawling. And that meant that they had big nets that trawled along the ocean floor to catch the desired type of species of fish, and along the way it also captured lots of non-desired species of fish, and it actually then also completely ruined the seabed. So much so that now that has been made illegal in a number of countries. And there's quite a sort of neat analogy here with I think what I think has happened, or what I see has happened in the research industry, is that essentially we've trawled and trawled for data. We've tried to extract as much as we can from the people that are willing to give their time, throwing out bots, throwing out dupes, throwing out people that essentially have been redirected and all for really very little payment. And as a result, we've got a pretty dead seabed of research, and it's unsustainable. I think that's probably the sort of good word for it, where it's an unsustainable future. So what do we do? There's no one silver bullet, and in the time that I have, I'm not going to be able to sort of magic up one complete answer. But I think what I can do is I can give you some of the tools maybe to go back to your business, institution, or even just to sort of think about in terms of looking at what we as individuals can do within our businesses. So my background before I came to market research was in strategy and innovation, and we very much used a framework there called design thinking. I don't know if this is familiar to many of you already, or any of you, but essentially design thinking was made sort of famous, if you like, by the innovation agency Ayda. They didn't create it, but it was very much made famous by them. And it's a bottom-up approach used in service design and in innovation. And it's very much known for producing improved results. And the way that it does that is by redefining problems and focusing on people's needs. And you put people's needs at the heart of essentially your product development and your service development. And if we reframe research and the work that we're doing as service design, just kind of hold on to that conceptual thought for a minute, we can look at what are the needs of the people that are taking part. We look at that first. What do they need? And then we think about, what do I need for business success? And lastly, we look at what can tech do to meet this need. So what we did, I really kind of love this framework. I'm very much about sort of people first, technology second, even as someone that has a tech business. For me, it's all about the people. And what we wanted to do, and in the context of Ayda, we're a two-sided platform. We have users, customers, and our customers have participants who we see as our customers' customers. And that's how we frame it internally. We see participants as our customers' customers. And that really helps us understand how we treat these people. We don't see them as necessarily evil, even though they can be really annoying sometimes. We do see them very much as to be treated with the kind of service and respect that our customers' customers would have. So in order to first of all think about, okay, how do we go about addressing the problems that exist within research, not all of them, but how can we help in this sector? We first need to understand people's needs. People, in the context of Ayda, is participants, customers, and our customers. Following? Hopefully, lots of customers there. So first of all, we workshopped. What do we think? Why do we think people take part in research? Why do we think that they even bother to give their time for that? So as a team, we spent some time thinking about what that might be and hypothesising. And then from that, we went and then surveyed 3,000 participants who had recently taken part in research to understand why did they turn up, what was important to them, and what would make them do it again. And this is what we found, and it kind of is so neatly, I wish we kind of had all these presentations back to back, really neatly kind of dovetails into the work the workshop that we just had with Paul, and also the work with Chris and Deborah that they talked about earlier. And essentially what we found was it was about transparency in terms of data usage, a really good understanding of how their personal information is going to be used and stored, prompt and fair payment. They want to kind of know that they're not being taken advantage of. They want to know that we're getting rewarded quickly and that I can see the results of my efforts, not that it's on the never never. they genuinely have an interest and a desire to contribute, which might seem crazy, but in actual fact, that's really, there is a genuine desire there, but with very little feedback, and essentially we found sort of coming back to them from our customers to sort of say, you know, what impact they had and what difference it made and whether it did make any difference at all. It was just kind of went empty out to the ether. They also want an ease of communication, and by that they meant they actually want, we talked with them, they want a point of contact at the research company. So at the minute, I think surveys seem very faceless. It just kind of, as I said, goes out to the ether. There's no recourse. There's this made a difference to anyone, anywhere, anything? Does my input count? And where is my reward? Who do I talk to? And they wanted to feel like, even if it's just an email or just somewhere, a reference of where does this go? Where's this kind of ease of communication that, okay, I've just done something, what happens now? So, and the value of the incentive, important as well, but not as important as some of the other aspects here, and that it won't take them a lot of time, so respect for their time. We then wanted to understand, so that's participants, that's what they need. We then want to understand what do customers need. And from a REOPS platform, so from a research operations perspective, we went and talked with people that recruit, manage, pay, and ensure the quality of sample. What's important to them? They wanted to know that data will be kept securely, treated in compliance. They want to save time, they want to work efficiently. These are busy people with lots going on. So essentially it's about sort of making sure that processes are streamlined. They want to easily track the participant journey, and they want to ensure that they have good data quality. So then what happened is, having collated the list of participant and user needs, we went on to identify points of juxtaposition, friction. So in planning and innovation, that's what you want. You want points of friction. You generally don't want points of friction in customer success or client management. But friction is where essentially innovation happens. It's where you have two things that rub up against each other and you think, there's something here that doesn't quite match. Is there an opportunity that lies within that? And without payment that essentially participants wanted fairly and fast and promptly, there wouldn't be any fraud. So we were like, well, that's interesting. And then from the customer's perspective, they wanted to ensure that they had no fraudulent or as little fraud as possible within their research studies. So we're thinking, maybe there's something here, because that is a point of friction and a point where two things juxtapose. So you probably don't know us, apart from a few people that I've kind of met at conferences in this room. But what I built at Ayda, first of all, was a real-time payment platform, direct to bank. And we cover 52 countries. So we have Ayda Pay. That essentially is panel instructs Ayda to pay, then we kind of convert the currency, payment confirmation, then that goes back to the panel or the customer. Yes, it's been paid. And having already built that, we thought, well, okay, we have a payment system, and we're collecting behavioural and payment data, essentially because 85% of the transactions that go through go direct to bank. We have this verification point. So we have an account name that has to match. We have account details, and in some instances, we also have their address that we have to collect in order to facilitate direct-to-bank payment. So we're like, well, that's interesting. We've got this information, and we're seeing some sometimes odd behaviours. Maybe there's something that we can do here in terms of using this information to surface to customers when they maybe have people with multiple IDs but the same bank account. What can we do here? And also other behavioural data in terms of their activity across the whole of the Ayda universe, because we work for lots and lots of different customers. We have obviously a very broad picture. So if someone surfaces in one place and then again in another, but essentially with a different, the same set of bank details, we can spot that and surface that back to the customer if we think that that is someone that is potentially fraudulent or professional. So we've then built essentially from that behavioural and payment data a machine learning algorithm that then will spot other aspects of behaviour that we as humans maybe have not considered, that also then begin to indicate fraud. So we have a data scientist and essentially developers that are excellent in machine learning. So we then come into Ayda Trust, and then we thought, okay, well in the payment process as well, we have this verification piece where it's called confirmation of payee in the UK and verification of payee globally outside of that, where when someone actually gives you their bank details, first of all, there's a lookup against a global payment system to say, yes, this is correct, they've got the correct name and the correct bank details, and do they match? So we thought, well, maybe if we separate that out from within the payment process, and we put that first, when someone is onboarding into a panel, we don't pay them anything, but we just do this verification piece, because that is part of the process to actually get the money, right? So when they cash out, they'll just automatically go through. Maybe we can sort of pull that out and verify them there. So that's essentially what we've built. And so we've used this sort of juxtaposition, as I said, of sort of friction of fraud and payment, and really gone into it and thought, is there something here that we can build that will help to solve the issue seamlessly within the process of payment without really the participant understanding that they have to sort of give extra information like passports or, scan eyes or, anything like that. It's very, very intrusive. Not very intrusive, I should say. It's actually just wrapped within the payment piece. So that's sort of how we got to Ayda Pay, Ayda Verify, and Ayda Trust. And we've just come to the market with this in May. So super, super early for us, right? Because essentially the payment piece was already there before, and now we're just sort of seeing, okay, we can see for existing customers, on average, about 20% of what they put through our platform last year was fraudulent. So we have an immediate reading on a baseline of where we can help them and who we can spot and where we can begin to flag people back to them. So I'm kind of really looking forward to hopefully coming back next year if I'm invited and sharing some great results that we've had off the back of this, because it's not the only way, right? But I think it's another tool in the armory of both helping resolve some of the issues around fraud, but also prompt and fair payment being one of the issues that I think participants are looking for in terms of their needs when taking part in research. So I've kind of waffled on for my allotted time, starting with the kind of current state of the participant. The research relationship is extraction, taking as much as we can for as little as we can. And then we sort of covered what are the principles of design thinking, people's needs first. Think about people in terms of participants, people in terms of customers, but really in this context, what do participants need? Why do they take part? And then moving towards how do we use their needs to actually build solutions, services, innovations that essentially will answer and meet their needs to working towards a more sustainable future. As I said, it's early days, it's really early days, we're sort of a few weeks in. And I think really what I like in this solution, it's a collaborative solution, as in everybody that puts payments through Ayda Pay wins, because their data helps feed other people's scores as well. So essentially if one company pays, then that information helps other companies if there are fraudulent participants there. So it's what's called a network effect, right? So we have a really nice network effect in this. And that's, I think, working towards reducing fraud, collaborative solution, a clear starting point for improvement. And that's, I think, how we begin to work towards a more sustainable future for research. I think it's very much about a collaborative effort. It's not siloed, as in one business solves it for them, but not for anyone else. I think it's going to take a joined up effort, and that's what I hope to play a small part in terms of being more regenerative and working towards a sustainable future. Thank you very much for having me. Please ask me questions. Go for it. Hello.
So, I'm trying to, you've got your customers and your customers' customers.
Yes.
Your customers, I'm thinking if I take, say, a research business,
yeah.
and then you've got aggregators, they're SID type business.
Yeah.
You've got a pure panel play like perhaps a donator.
Yeah.
So they're all customers.
Yeah.
If I'm a member of various different customers,
Yes.
you can't connect my data across the different sources and say I'm registered across those 3 businesses, or can you?
No,
I'm just trying
I
to think
can.
about it.
So essentially, the bank account is the verification point.
Yes.
So essentially, whoever pays, the participant,
Yeah.
is our customer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're interested in, because we use that payment data point as the verification. So absolutely, if you come in and you're entering your bank details and you've been on Dynata, a different research agency, and you've done work for all of them, and you've got the same bank details, it's unusual that people that take part in research are going to have 5, 6, 7 different bank accounts,
Yes.
and one in the Cayman Islands and so on and so forth, right? Maybe 2 at best. Then essentially we are able to pick that up as soon as you come in through the verify, because we're like, okay, yeah, that's the same person here, because we've got your bank details, because you were paying, right? And
So you're verifying, but you're not deduping as such. So if I'm rewarded 3 times for the same survey.
So we verify and we would flag exactly that. So
okay.
exactly. So we give you what's called a score,
Yeah.
right? So we would flag, and that's the trust piece.
Right.
So we do the verification, yes, and we do the trust, and the trust score gives you a score. So exactly that. If you're seeing lots of dupes, or you're active across a lot and have been flagged as fraudulent before, then absolutely that would flag as fraudulent for the next person. And so that's why it's very much a collaborative, joined up effort, because essentially it's like data sharing without data sharing, if that makes sense.
Right.
If I've explained that probably very badly. Hi, Deborah.
I've got some kind of question. So based upon the analysis you've done so far, can you sort of see on average how many different panels and networks individuals might legitimately be part of? Because they might not be fraudulent, but they could still be have presence
Yes.
across a number of different suppliers.
Yes.
So have you sort of seen that on average people are members of 5, 6? Have you seen any of those kinds of things?
I can't tell you the exact number. That's a really good question. But I tell you what, when we do some work to go back to the police on, then yes, absolutely. I think we've just got that data fresh now, and we're beginning to analyse it. So in terms of the average number of different customers a panellist or participant is working for, I think that's a great question. And yes, we can tell. No, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
It'd be very interesting
Yeah.
to find out.
Yeah. It's quite easy to do the analysis on that.
I have a question. So it's all about kind of preventing survey fraud, but is there a danger of people committing fraud on you? So hacking the system somehow. It seems like you're
yes.
vulnerable from a security point of view.
Yeah, definitely.
Holding so much information.
Definitely. In terms of the encryption of the data, in terms of the security processes, in terms of the way that we handle the data that we have, where it's stored, how it's stored, it's hugely important and complex. It's a really good point. Essentially, we've built, first of all, we employed investment banking technologists to build essentially, that we're building trading platforms to build the infrastructure to that same level, first of all, before we started sort of progressing further. But that's a key point, something that definitely keeps me awake at night.
Do you have any more questions? No? Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.